So I read each sentence and we will discuss it. So before that, I'll read out to you what he has said in the previous para, very small para, and what he intends to do, so that we have a clear idea of what he is going to do. So in the previous small para, he says, intention, he says, we shall now see how the principle of sacrifice, yajna, okay, applied to the three paths in Jnana Yoga, which is of the mind, the Bhakti Yoga, which is of the emotional and the heart, and the Karma Yoga, which is will and body and action, physical action. Okay? And we shall study the process of sacrifice in all these, in knowledge, in devotion and love, and action. So first he is going to take up in the knowledge aspect. What are the works of knowledge and how do you take a sacrifice of whatever you are studying or thinking or researching or whatever. Okay? So, and then we'll see how, what he has to say. Natural from the point of view of the yoga to divide into two categories the activities of the looking for knowledge. It's mind that looks for knowledge, not the heart. The heart looks for emotion. It looks for love and emotions. But the mind is the one that looks for knowledge. So knowledge can be divided into two sections. Spiritual knowledge and the lower scientific or physical knowledge. All what we are discovering in the physical world, applying, that is the lower knowledge, and the higher knowledge is the spiritual knowledge. So I'm reading the next sentence. There is a supreme supra-intellectual knowledge above the intellect. Okay, it is, that means it cannot be put into words. It has to be experienced only. Supra-intellectual knowledge, which concentrates itself on the discovery of the one and infinite in its transcendence, or tries to penetrate by intuition, contemplation, direct inner contact with the ultimate truths behind the appearances of nature. We'll take up phrase by phrase. Appearances of nature are all the forms in the physical world. It's only an appearance. The real reality behind that appearance you don't see. Okay? Appearance of nature, all the physical forms in the physical world. But behind them, there is a truth, and the supra-intellectual knowledge, Paravidya. It tries to shed the physical form and look for the truth behind the physical form. It's exactly like, the flowers in the ashram. Mother had given names to each flower. Na? So let us say psychological perfection, okay, or intimacy with the divine. There are so many. Or transformation. Take the word transformation. So how does mother do that? She identifies herself with the reality behind the form, and then she sees what that flower represents, and it represents the reality behind the form. That is what the supra-intellectual knowledge tries to see. There is a reality which is expressing, which is trying to express itself through a form. The supreme supra-intellectual knowledge which concentrates itself on the discovery of the one. So what are you trying to do? Going to the origin of everything. And that one is infinite and it's also transcendent. How does it do that? What are the instruments by which it tries to get that knowledge of the one? By intuition, contemplation, by going on thinking about it. And if you go on thinking about it, one day the very effort of thinking, okay, will yield the result to you. That's what Srimad is saying. So first is intuition. And intuition also we must be very clear. Normally there is intuition is something which you certainly get an idea, okay. That's not intuition. Intuition is a definite plane of consciousness above the higher mind, above the illumined mind. That intuition is coming from there, and from that intuition, always there is guidance and there are suggestions and implications and influences which are coming into you, but you don't understand them correctly because of the density of the lower substance. The mind substance is very thick. So when that subtle substance comes into the lower element, it gets covered up. Just like in a glass, if you put 3 drops of ink, okay, or 4 or 5 drops of ink, the upper portion is not very much affected by the ink, but the lower portion becomes dark and dense, and there is a gradation. So from the higher level, when a subtle force comes in, the density of the lowers completely swallows up the intuition. So you think it's an ordinary thought. Actually, it is not. It's coming from above. So, and you think it's just a thought, normally. But if your lower portion also is clean and transparent and not dark, okay, then naturally you will see it as an intuition. So that's an intuition. Intuition is like a drop of light that comes without the process of thought. There is no thinking. It just comes in and you get an illumination. That is intuition. That's one instrument you can use. Very good example of intuition is Ramanujan's mathematical formulas. 2000 equations he wrote and he could not prove them mentally. His mentor, his advisor, Hardy was the one who saw that he is a genius and brought him to England, and he was a South Indian vegetarian. He suffered a lot because there was, at that time there was no vegetarian food in Europe. So, and he had to suffer a lot. But Hardy tried to tell him that no, mathematics is something you have to prove by logic. But he says, I have gone beyond logic. How can I give you logic? So now they are finding that they can prove all those things by logic, but he got them all by intuition. 2000 equations. They are known as the notebooks of Ramanujan. And they are being deciphered. Most of them have been deciphered. And they have shown that yes, there is application in astronomy, in physics and all. These equations are valid. So that's intuition for you. Okay? Reason and mental thinking has nothing to do with it. But there is also a lesser one, that's a contemplation. Contemplation is the mind thinking and meditating. Okay? Or there is another method, direct inner contact with the ultimate truth. That means identification. So these are the 3 tools by which Paravidya, higher knowledge, can be acquired. Intuition, contemplation, and direct inner contact, identification. These are the 3 methods for getting the higher knowledge. Behind the appearance of nature. I go to the next phrase. There is a lower science which diffuses itself in an outward knowledge of phenomena that disguises of the one and infinite as it appears to us in or through the more exterior forms of the world manifestation around us. So he's saying the lower knowledge, the lower science is something which diffuses itself. Note the word diffuses. It is not by concentration. It is by looking at the details. You are not concentrating. The knowledge is not concentrated. It is diffused in an outward knowledge of phenomena. What are you examining? Phenomena. Okay. Phenomena means events in the physical world. The disguises of the one. The disguises of the one are the forms in the physical world and infinite, as it appears to us in or through the more exterior forms. So, if you get the higher knowledge, it can come to you in the form or through the form. That's what Swami is saying. Even if you are at a good level of consciousness, even you will be able to see the divine presence in all the forms. One very good example of that, Swami is going, crossing the Narmada river and going, and there is a stone goddess. Okay, there is a statue of a goddess. It's a dilapidated temple, but in the stone, he is seeing the divine presence. That's what he's mentioning here. See, as it appears to us in or through the more exterior forms. So, in the form itself, Sridhar is saying the divine presence, or it can be through the exterior form. Behind the form, you can see the divine reality. So, these are the two ways. See how detailed Sridhar is going into. He is not using words unnecessarily. In or through, both have got meaning. Okay? Through the more exterior forms of the world manifestation around us. So all the forms in the physical world, if you are at a high level of consciousness, you will see the divine presence in everything, or you will see it behind it. Okay? I think seeing in the form is a higher form of vidya than seeing behind the form. I think. I'm not sure. But it could be that both are at the same level. Anyway, both are possible. In the form or behind the form. These two, an upper and a lower hemisphere, in the form of them, constructed or conceived by men within the mind's ignorant limits, have even there separated themselves. So what Sridhar is saying is, even the lower vidya, okay, even the lower vidya has separated itself and is going to deal with them all one by one. What are the separate mental knowledge? The lower knowledge is mental. So first is philosophy, then there is the science, okay, sense knowledge, then there is uh, art and painting and all this. That also is a science. Okay, so all this is going to discuss one by one. So first he takes up philosophy. Okay? So first of all, he is dividing into higher knowledge and lower knowledge, and now he is dividing lower knowledge into so many different categories. Okay, so first he is discussing philosophy, and philosophy also, even philosophy also it divides into several. Okay, we'll see that. So I'm reading the next one, and note the ... Okay. Normally, if we had to do, we would say we start a new para. The Sridhar is saying, I am discussing the lower knowledge, it's all one. So he puts 3 dots, or 4 dots actually are there, and then he starts. Philosophy, sometimes spiritual, or at least intuitive, sometimes abstract and intellectual, as in the West. It is abstract and intellectual, as in the West. Sometimes intellectualizing spiritual experience, like the Upanishads. Intellectualizing spiritual experience in the Upanishads. Sometimes abstract and intellectual, as in the West. Their philosophy is, it is based maybe on experience, like seriously saying intuition. But philosophy in the West has to be logical. Otherwise, it's not philosophy, according to them. Okay. In India, it is different. So, very clear. So, sometimes spiritual, at least intellectual. At that time, then the knowledge is not available to you. It is available only to the person who has experienced. Then, sometimes abstract and intellectual, as in the West, as I said. Sometimes intellectualizing spiritual experience, the Upanishads, the Vedanta, and supporting with a logical apparatus the discoveries of the spirit, has claimed always to take the fixation of ultimate truth as its province. So, what is the aim of the Paravidya, the higher knowledge? It's always the ultimate truth, that is its aim. That's what Sridhar is saying. Whereas in science, it is not the ultimate truth at all. It is going step by step towards the ultimate truth. But even when it did not separate itself on rarefied metaphysical heights from the knowledge that belongs to the practical world and the pursuit of ephemeral objects, intellectual philosophy, by its habit of abstraction, has seldom been a power for life. So, intellectual philosophy, it does not change the life. You enjoy the discussions and all that, just as in mathematics. Mathematics also, but he's not talking about mathematics, but I'm giving an example. Mathematics also you can enjoy the logic and the way beautiful things are expressed. You can enjoy it. But it doesn't have a power to change your life. No? you will remain exactly what you are. So intellectual philosophy, by its habit of abstraction, has seldom, rarely been a power for life. It has been sometimes powerful for high speculation. It can go into, you can use logic and philosophy for a very high purpose, but does not change life. That's what Sir is saying. And where is gone? Oh, just okay. I guess my page skipped. So, intellectual philosophy, by its habit of abstraction, has seldom been a power for life. It has been sometimes powerful for high speculation, pursuing mental truths for its own sake. There you are. I remember when I was in school, and Patiji was our Indian philosophy, he was teaching us. So one of the questions that was there in the, I'm giving you an example. What is the intellectual philosophy? So he said, discuss relations. Okay? And I found it very interesting. And I wrote quite a big essay, and all the other questions I completely ignored, and I only went into relations. The relations can be internal, they can be external, and there can be so many different types of relationships. Internally, within an organization, the relation can be of friendship, or it can be neutral, or it can be inimical. That's one way. And then if it is outside, okay, I am here and somebody is in America, what are the relations possible? So I wrote a big essay on that. Absolutely purely intellectual, without any uh, without any application in life. Okay, so that's what he's saying. It has got so from the where is gone to? Some, habit of abstraction has seldom been a powerful act. It has been sometimes powerful for high speculation. I gave you an example. You can go on. Okay. I remember also another one. Okay. I was told to in the mathematics class. I was told what is the take a circle and take a line and discuss all the possible positions of the circle and the line. Okay. So there are so many things. It is purely intellectual. Okay. They can first be parallel. Both of them can be parallel, or they can be perpendicular, or they can be tangent to each other. And even in the tangent, it can be 90 degrees, or it can be at an angle, and like that goes so many different types of process. Or the line can go through the circle, it can touch the circle at 2 points, or it can go through the center. Okay, so many different possibilities. I remember, very interesting. So purely intellectual, acrobatics.
Rangada,
Yeah, tell me.
but it helps in clearing the mind, no,
Oh
developing the
yes,
mind. That
absolutely.
utility is
It
that
does clear
utility
the
is
mind,
necessary.
but
That
does
is
it
an
change your
utility.
character? That's what's everything. Does it change your character?
It helps maybe later on to
uh,
differentiate and divide and understand things better.
yeah. At the mental level, certainly it becomes very flexible, and you are right. But it does not change your vital, no? Your old habits and likes and
That's
dislikes.
the no, that's the first step towards changing. First
Yeah,
you have to understand, then only you can change. Otherwise, if you don't understand, you won't be able to change.
that's exactly what Srinath is discussing. Understanding can be paravidya or aparavidya. He is not saying that the aparavidya, the lower one, has no value. He is not saying that. Certainly it has a value. Okay. But normally it does not change your, so, as you said, it's the first step. But it doesn't go far enough to change you fundamentally. That's what he's saying. Okay. So,
Mother says
uh,
that mathematics
uh,
is a mental gymnastic. And in order to develop your intellect
yes.
and to make you think, you
Mm,
need maths, not because it's going to change your life, but
yeah.
because it will help to develop the mental faculty. So it's a
Exactly.
mental gymnastic.
That's right. That's exactly what Pallu also is saying, but she is saying that it can also help a little bit in changing your understanding of things. Yes, it does. There's no doubt about it. But basically, your vital nature does not change much. Okay? So,
Sangata, can we say here that in fact Sherwin is trying to put here exactly what is the utility or what is the place or status of each of the knowledge? And
uh,
how can what is philosophical spiritual knowledge? What is intellectual knowledge?
yeah.
He's not either telling something is good or bad. He's just, I mean, like what I understand is he's just in details he's trying to explain what actually it is and how much that it stands.
Yeah, so that's right. His main purpose is to discuss the superior knowledge. But he's saying knowledge. So my point is, we just now discussed that he's examining the concept of sacrifice. Okay? And in upper knowledge and in lower knowledge. So sacrifice can be applied even in the lower knowledge. Suppose you are doing research in science, okay? You can do it for the divine, or you can do it for your own glory and name and fame. So that's exactly what he's discussing. So all the different forms of mental knowledge he is discussing. We must not forget the aim, what he is doing. All the discussion that we had just now, that yes, it has a power to change a little bit of life, is true. There's no doubt about it, but not fundamentally. And he is discussing exactly that. He will tell you afterwards the different types and how you can do that, how you can make everything a sacrifice to the divine. Surely there are, for instance, there are philosophers who were, James Jeans was one, great amount of thinking. They were scientists, but great amount of thinking. Even Einstein, okay. It's not that they are absolutely fixed only in the physical world. Even Einstein, I just mentioned one thing. I think we have discussed this once. He wrote to his daughter towards the end of his life. He said that now I understand that science is nothing. I understand that there are far greater powers in the physical world. And one of the most powerful things is spiritual love. Love is the most important, but it is not yet time to reveal that to everybody. Don't release my letter to anybody, okay? Because it is not yet time for it. So these scientists, they do go into the spiritual field, and sometimes they get experiences also. So certainly, even the pursuit of apara vidya, the lower knowledge, can lead you to the higher, because you start wondering about things, and he has used the word contemplation. So when you go on thinking about that, okay, it does lead you to the higher learning. Certainly, there's a gradation. There's no doubt about it. Okay, so let's get back to our discussion, what he's saying. So then he's saying it has seldom, he's not saying it has no power, not the word seldom, rarely he's saying, has been a power for life. It has been sometimes powerful for high speculation, pursuing mental truth for its own sake, without any ulterior utility or object. Just now, as I said, I gave you several examples of how mental gymnastics. Sometimes for a subtle gymnastic of the mind, in a mistily bright cloudland of words and ideas, but it has walked or acrobatized far from the more tangible realities of spiritual experience. So it is true that it has a power, but it is very far away. Simply is saying, okay, what's the word he's using? Wait, my page has skipped. Just 1 second. Yeah. Yeah, it has walked or acrobatized far from the more tangible realities of existence. When it goes up like that, the intellectual philosophy is going beyond tangible realities of existence. Then, philosophy in Europe, now he's giving an example. Philosophy in Europe was more dynamic, but not for the few. Okay, it is very rare. So he's saying, for instance, all these Germans, Nietzsche and I forget the names. So many philosophers were there in Europe. They had spiritual experiences. There's no doubt about it. But they mentalized it to a large extent. And that was only rare. He says it's only for a few, not for everybody. Now he comes to India, philosophy in India. Okay? In India, in its more spiritualized forms, it's strongly influenced, but without transforming the life of the race. There you are. It became religion. The ideas of the Upanishads and all the ideas, it percolated down to the lowest levels of the population. But it did not change their life form. Okay? You know that your spiritual life is the aim of life and you have to reach the divine. But it is not going to change so easily. It's strongly influenced, but without transforming the life of the race. So influence is there. Yes, you know that this is the aim of life. In fact, I can tell you that when Morarji Desai became the Prime Minister of India, if you remember, Indira Gandhi imposed an emergency. It was absolutely uncalled for, but she imposed an emergency for about 1.5 years or so. And then she was advised to go to the election, and they told her that you will win the election hands down. But she lost it very badly. And the opposition came into power, and Morarji Desai became the Prime Minister of India. And when he met the American president, he told him two things. These are little funny, but it's worth remembering. First, he said that the aim of life, my aim in life is to realize the divine. So that must have fallen on deaf ears to the American president. Okay, they are more religious. And the second thing, he said that if you want a good health, you drink your own urine. Okay. And this, the American president was absolutely stunned. I'm going a little out of the way, but this is what I meant was that the idea that the aim of life is to realize the divine, that is not there in Europe. That's what Sridhar is saying, strongly influenced. Okay. Strongly influenced, but without transforming the life of the race. For transformation, what do you have to do? Do you only have to know the aim? No. You have to work on yourself. You have to do yoga. And everybody is not doing yoga, but even those who are not doing yoga know that the aim of life is to realize the divine. That's what Sridhar is meaning. Strongly influenced without transforming the life of the race. Now, if it strongly influences, you come to religion. That's the other form of lower knowledge, okay, religion. So now he is discussing religion. Then he will go to arts and other things, okay, science and arts. Here we go. So note that 3-4 dots he has put again. So that's the next section. So religion did not attempt. Now he is discussing religion. He has finished discussing with philosophy, and he has told you that philosophy also has several branches. One purely intellectual, the other purely spiritual knowledge, purely intellectualizing spiritual knowledge. All these are categories of spiritual knowledge, the higher knowledge. Now he comes to religion. Religion did not attempt, like philosophy, to live alone on the heights. Okay. It tried to change the character of man. It tried to give him a practical knowledge, what to do and what not to do. Religion, very generally speaking. Its aim was rather to take hold of man's parts of life, that means even parts of life, the vital, even more than his parts of mind, and draw them Godwards. Okay? The idea of sin and the idea of the negative elements in life, all those also you have to change. So religion tried to do that. Whereas philosophy is only concentrating in the mind, religion is coming down to the vital and trying to change it. Did it succeed? Hardly. Okay? It did not succeed. That reason will tell you that. Religion did not attempt, like philosophy, to live alone on the heights. Not only mental attempt, but also vital attempt. It's trying to change the life. No virtue and sin, the ideas came into religion. Its aim was rather to take hold of man's parts of life. That, why is he saying parts of life? Because there is a higher vital, there is a lower vital, there is an inner vital. There are so many different parts of the vital even. even more than his parts of mind, and draw them Godwards. It professed, religion professed, okay? Its aim was to build a bridge between spiritual truth and the vital and material human existence. That's why the priests came into picture. And all the priests are, what are they doing? They are trying to mediate between God and man. That's why in all religions you have priests, okay? You have priests in Christianity, you have mullahs, okay? In Islam, and in India also you have the pandas and the priests who do that. So everywhere the priests came. Religion produces priests, and they are the go-between. That's what Sridhar is saying here. It professes to build a bridge between spiritual truth and the vital and material human existence. It strove, it made an attempt to subordinate and reconcile the lower to the higher. Reconcile the lower to the higher. Make the life slightly better. Make life serviceable to God. The life that you are reading, make it connected with God. Earth obedient to heaven. Earth must, all the physical life must always keep in mind that there is God and do accordingly. Earth obedient to heaven. It strove to do that. It attempted to do that. It has to be admitted that too often this necessary effort had the opposite result of making heaven a sanction for earth's desires. So in other words, the result was the opposite. Okay? We can give so many examples. Okay? Both Christianity as well as Islam, you start killing everybody for the sake of God. Okay? In Christianity, you have the Crusades. They went and tried to convert forcibly everybody to Christianity with arms. Crusades. Huh? Later on, the Crusades disappeared, but they still try to force Christ onto you. Otherwise, you won't be released. So this is, it became absolutely anti-divine. That's what Sridhar is saying. It has to be admitted that too often this necessary effort is good, but that's the opposite result of making heaven a sanction for earth's desires. Earth's desires are what? You want conquest, you want to be mastered. So you give the excuse of God and you say you have to become either a Muslim or a Christian. Okay? But it's only for your own glory that you're doing that. For continuously the religious idea has been turned into an excuse for the worship and service of the human ego. That's it. It can be a collective ego, and it can also be a individual ego. I remember, okay, on the Samadhi, there is a canopy, na? Because the birds are coming and the flowers are falling, the leaves are falling. So over the Samadhi, there is a canopy which does not allow all these things to fall on the Samadhi. Na? So there was one person, my sister used to do a lot of painting work. So this man, he came and told her that you have to do this. You are doing painting, but that's not enough. You have to do this. He is imposing his own will on her. Okay, but she can do things in other ways. She can devote her painting in other ways. Why only that canopy? That's why exactly his own idea, his egoistic idea, he is imposing on others. If you extend this example, and that's what everybody is trying to do. You are telling everybody, do what I think is right. Okay? So that's what Christianity is doing, and that's what also Islam is doing. So,
Rangada, even in India also the Brahmins impose their will on the others, right?
yes, that's
Not
because
only
they're human.
Christian.
Exactly. But there's a difference between the practical aspect and the theoretical aspect. In the other religions, even the theoretical aspect you are trying to impose. Whereas in India, the theoretical aspect is clear. But practically it becomes absolutely, you are right. All religions, don't think that Hinduism is something superior to the others in its lower application. In the lower application, there are things in Hinduism which are horrible. Okay? The treatment of the Dalits and the treatment of widows. Okay? Horrible. Okay? There is no doubt about it. It's absolutely. At the lower level, religion becomes the opposite of what it should be. That's what Sridhar is saying. Okay.
If you see in Christianity, all
Ah,
the atrocities which the priest and the have done on the nuns and raped them, and they've sort of spoiled children and whatnot, and the Pope is hard, taking great efforts to protect all of them.
yeah, that's right.
So, if you say that a priest is a link between God and you, it's a very distorted way of thinking of religion.
No, the idea is theoretically, the priest is trying to guide you, theoretically. But actually, practically, it becomes a totally different thing. That's right. So, and even today, all the ills in the Christian churches and all that, now so many, you know that. Okay, all these priests have done so many things now. Even the Vatican is now agreeing that these things have to be brought out. Okay, there's a lot of resistance for that, but there's a lot of soul searching going on in Christianity. They are going towards the right way, and they are saying that all these wrong things that we have done should not have been done. They are trying to correct those errors. But errors have been there in every religion. There is absolutely no doubt about it. So I go now to the next sentence. We have about 10 minutes. Religion, okay, leaving constantly its little shining core of spiritual experience, has lost itself in the obscure mass of its ever-extending, ambiguous.
Promises.
One second. Ambiguous, where is it gone? Appearances of nature. No, wait.
Compromises with life.
Okay, yeah, but I have lost that. Just one second. Yeah. Uh, yeah, compromising, lost itself in the obscure mass of its ever-extending, ambiguous compromising with life. All religions finally don't do the right thing. Okay, so in attempting to satisfy the thinking mind, it more often succeeded in oppressing or fettering it with a mass of theological dogmas. While seeking to net the human heart, it fell itself into pits of pietistic emotionalism and sensationalism. Now, this whole paragraph is a fantastic paragraph, and he is not, he is only one para, so we'll have to discuss this in great detail. So, now note what he's saying. Religion, it's not that religion did not have, there are many people in religion who have a spiritual experience. Okay? So many cases are there. In Europe also we have Saint Augustine, and there is the Saint Francis of Assisi. Okay, beautiful examples of the spiritual life. And Catherine, okay, Saint Catherine. So there are so many cases. So it's not that religion is always, there is a, but same as is the word shining core. Okay, it's a very small thing. Spiritual experience has lost itself in the obscure mass of its ever-extending, ambiguous compromises with life. It's constantly mixing up life and allowing a certain extent of the impurities to enter into you. The absolution at the point of death in Christianity also, when someone is dying, they call the priest, and the priest will give you absolution. That means they will tell you that it's okay. Even if you're a sinner, you will go to God. Okay? So that's it. All these are the distortions. That's what he is talking about. Okay? In our Indian system also, if a widow is there, when a child widow is there, she's sent away to Varanasi. Go to a widow home. Okay? You are a sign of inauspiciousness. So every religion has got these difficulties. There's no doubt about it. So finally, so what he's saying? He's saying to satisfy the thinking mind, it more often succeeded in oppressing or fettering it with a mass of theological dogmas. The theological dogmas, there are so many. Okay, we have got. There are many examples. All superstitions can be classed as dogmas. Okay, so, while seeking to net the human heart, it fell itself into pits of pietistic emotionalism and sensationalism. So, piety is a word which means obedience to elders and respect of elders. Okay? Nothing more than that. Into pits of pietistic emotionalism and sensationalism. So, emotionalism and sensationalism is not religion, nor is it spiritual life. In the act of annexing the vital nature of man to dominate it, it grew itself vitiated and fell a prey to all the fanaticism, homicidal fury, savage or harsh turn for oppression, pullulating falsehood. Okay? The word pullulate means to to grow at an unbelievable pace and unreasonable pace. It goes on multiplying itself, many, much more than really required. It completely inundates, like weeds in a garden. Okay, they completely cover everything, and it's a nuisance. So that's pullulating. And he's using the word.
Rangadhar,
Yeah, tell me.
pietistic, you said is it comes from pious, no?
Piety. The word piety is.
Pious or no?
Pious.
No, I didn't understand. Tell me again.
It comes from pious or no?
Oh, yes, I think so. Maybe.
But then that doesn't mean respect to elders only. No, pious has a different connotation. No, religious or pious.
Okay, just 1 minute. I want to check the dictionary meaning. Just 1 minute. That's my idea, but it may be wrong. So let me just see. I go to Google and I type piety. P-I-E-T-Y. Meaning. Meaning in English, it says the quality of being religious or reverent. A belief which is accepted with unthinking conventional presence. This is what it means. The quality of being religious or reverent. Respect. Okay? You give the respect to adults and your parents and all, or even to God. Okay? It's reverence. It's not necessarily a change. That's what piety means. Acts of piety and charity. Okay, I'm reading from the dictionary which I have got on my. This is what it means. Okay. What does the word piety mean? It means quality or state of being pious. So you are right. Okay, such as fidelity to natural obligations as to parents. Okay, or dutifulness in religion, devoted. Yeah, that's right. Okay. So respect and reverence, okay, to elders and also to God if you want, but respect only. That's a piety. So that's
But today's world, the children think that just because you are elder, you are not supposed to be.
Not supposed to be revered.
but that's a definition of the word, no? So that,
No. Now they say you have to earn respect. You cannot be just because you are elder to be expected to respect.
no, but we are discussing the meaning of the word, no?
No. So it changes the connotation. That's what I'm saying. Like the same thing.
What you're saying is right. Okay, we don't need to respect everybody. Okay, so 834. So we have come to the pullulating falsehood. Obstinate attachment. He is giving you all the way the religion can fall into very big pits. Okay. So first of all, oppression. Then pullulating falsehood, completely false. Okay. Obstinate attachment to ignorance, to which their vital nature is prone. its desire to draw the physical in man towards God betrayed it into chaining itself to ecclesiastic mechanism, ecclesiastic priestly, okay, mechanism. You are going on doing arati with a lamp, and you are going on round and round you are doing, but you're thinking of something else. So that's the mechanical ecclesiastic mechanism. So it becomes only an outer form. Hollow ceremony or lifeless ritual. You go through all the uh, outer forms, but it becomes lifeless ritual. This is what only the religion ends in. He is talking of the worst. It doesn't mean to say that all religion is like that. He has told you already that there are higher elements in religion. But usually this is what happens. He is saying more often succeeded in this is what happens. The corruption of the best produced the worst by that strange chemistry of the power of life which generates evil out of good, even as it can also generate good out of evil. Now that's a very interesting thing. We can discuss that next time. You can all think of examples how sometimes your good intention can produce a bad result, and your bad intention can also produce a good result. Okay, so we have to stop here today, but we'll make a note of this. Okay, this sentence is interesting. It can be discussed at great detail at the physical level, vital level, and even mental level. Okay, how your wrong intention can give a right result, and the right intention can also give a wrong result. Okay. So it's very interesting. So we're using the word strange alchemy, okay. Strange chemistry of the power of life, which generates evil out of good, even as it can also generate good out of evil. So we'll stop here today, and next time we can discuss this in detail. All of you can think out examples. Okay, interesting. What should this? Sunki, note the.
Merci.
Yes.
Okay. Au revoir,
Bonjour,
everybody.
Niranga.